Hey students, I am down here in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, and I have right here pulled up American Gothic parodies. So before we get started on what your next project is going to be, we want to go over this information a little bit. Several of you read the article pretty well and submitted your answers, but there were some things that I realized were not explained very well, or you might need a little bit more information on. So first of all, the artist is Grant Wood. And Grant Wood was an artist who lived at the 1891 to 1941, I believe. He died pretty young, and he started out life as an art teacher and ended up moving into the artist realm. He studied in Germany and he studied in America. He was from the Midwest, and his ideals were very, very Midwestern. This was the same time period where you had a lot of people who were focusing on abstract expressionism and surrealism. So Salvador Dali and the Melting Clocks. This was this time period. This was the time period right up to the guy who flung paint. So that was Jackson Pollock. This also kind of overlapped just a little bit the tail end of the 1800s. And so you also had Monet, who was still painting at this time. So you have this man who comes in, he paints very, very smooth, very, very much like Renaissance painters, even in the way that he handles his figures and in the way that he uses his colors. But he paints in a very, very Midwestern, practical, realistic way, but in kind of a pointed, somewhat sarcastic way. Grant Wood was very friendly. Everybody liked him, but he had a wicked sense of humor and just got a kick out of talking to people and needling people and just seeing how far he could push people. So he created this painting, and I'm pointing at the wrong one because clearly he actually had the pitchfork rather than a balloon. But here you see the farmhouse in the background, and that's actually what inspired this whole picture. The barn came first, or the farmhouse came first, and he was struck by how weird it was that you had this very practical farmhouse with a completely impractical window. This window right here is a Gothic style window. And what that means is back in the medieval times, the Gothic time period, medieval and Gothic are synonyms for each other. You had churches, and the churches were made out of cathedrals, were made out of stone, and the stone walls on either side got really, 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 really heavy. And so engineers created these ribs to go in the ceilings, the roofs of these cathedrals, and these stone ribs that kind of came up to a point, and they crisscrossed along the ceiling, along the roof, helped stabilize the weight of the walls. And so whenever you see kind of this point on something, that is a medieval or Gothic style architecture. So that's where this whole idea of American Gothic came from. On top of that, he wanted two figures that were quintessential Americans. So quintessential Americans, you see them as very Midwestern or very Southern. In this case, they're very Midwestern. They're Midwestern in their style of dowdy type dress. They are Midwestern in the faces and the expressions on their faces. Whether or not this is actually the case leaves a lot to the interpretation. This is probably a little bit older style than the 1930s when this painting was actually painted. These would have been people that were a little bit older, probably back the turn of the last century. So he got like his grandma's clothes ideas out and kind of dressed his figures in these. This person right here represents his dentist. And then he picked his sister, who actually, if you look at pictures of her, she's quite lovely. And she is a bit of a fashionista for the 1930s, and she looks like if you watch the TV show Agent Carter, she looks like Agent Carter, or looks like some of the characters from the first Captain America movie. But he dresses her in this older style. He gives her a very severe hairstyle, and he paints her. And she wasn't happy with him. She was pretty ticked off. She wanted to be beautiful. She was beautiful, but he painted her very dowdy. But that is your like quintessential American ideal of what a Midwesterner should have looked like in the 1930s. He took those two figures and he put them in front of this house that he had found. And then, of course, what's a farmer without a pitchfork? So he gave them the pitchfork. So gives you a little bit of background information, lets you know a little bit more about this piece. Now that we know a little bit more about this piece, let's talk about what you are going to do. These right here, I'm going to scroll down through here, are American Gothic parodies. This is one of the most well-known works of art in the world. If you ever want to see it for real, you can find this artwork at the Chicago Art Institute, obviously in Chicago. It is actually located in the same it's in the building that Ferris Bueller and his friends tour and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So if you ever get a chance to go up there, it's a fantastic art museum. Now, that said, your project is going to be on the 12 by 18 paper. I'm so sorry. A 12 by 18 piece of paper. This right here is copy paper. 12 by 18 is double this. This is 8.5 by 11. So it's slightly bigger this way, and then it's double this size. If you need the paper, I have the paper. You just need to let me know when you can pick the paper up. If you are picking the paper up, it is located in the Rubbermaid tubs that are up by the front office door. So all you got to do is pull your car right up by the front office door, hop out, run up to the bin, not climb into it, but grab the paper out of it. You might want to get a couple of pieces of this big paper. You might want a couple of pieces of the smaller paper because you'll be using the other paper later on. Okay. So once you do that, you are going to think about your paper. So let's say this is my overall paper. You want your figures to take up 2/3. So this paper right here, this was a letter I got telling me that my kid needed her immunization form turned in. So this is folded into thirds. I don't want you to fold yours into thirds. Don't fold yours into thirds. But your figures need to be at least that long. It can be half the body, so it can be like this, where you have the top of the head all the way down to like the shoulders, or you can actually make them taller than that if you want to. It's entirely up to you. You need 2 figures. You need an architectural element in the background, and you need them holding something. So over here, he's still holding a pitchfork, but the house behind them happens to be the house that was used in what was the Beetlejuice house. Down here, we have the house changing. Here we have a flying saucer. Back here where you can't see it, we have SpongeBob's house. Over here, we have the neighborhood behind the Family Guy. Down here, they went ahead and put American Gothic house behind Zen and No Face. It's kind of fun to change what they're wearing. So this might still be the house, but maybe you make them look like they're more from nowadays. Maybe you make them look a little goth, like this is looking a little goth. Maybe you take your favorite cartoon characters. Maybe, I think scrolling down here, you have all kinds. I like that one. That one's fun. Maybe you have President Trump and Melania. Maybe you have President Trump and Obama. You can totally make this ironic. Maybe you have your characters who are social distancing, and she's giving him a dirty look for not wearing his mask. So think about what you would like to do. If you want to do something completely silly and have Mr. Schaefer and Mr. Ryan you can I totally encourage you just to get goofy with this. Hamburger to hot dog. We got the wolf people. We got Mickey and Minnie. So lots and lots and lots and lots of options. So what I want you to do is I want you to go out. I want you to have some fun with this. And I look forward to seeing what you're going to be making. Have a good one. Bye.